Happy Friday, and we're experiencing a mega rally today. It's almost as if the market has an incredibly short memory and is forgetting what the Fed's talking about. In addition, we have fundamental information that we're going to share towards the end of this video. But first, let's talk about the Fed, because that is the whole market's premise for today's move. Oh, inflation might have peaked. We've already known that, but inflation might have peaked. Things are going well. The Fed might not be as hawkish. The Fed funds futures market is saying they're not going to get to 5%. Guess what? They're not talking about any of this. They're saying as recently as today, Bostic's saying none of this is changing his projections. So the market's rallying because they expect the Fed to not be as hawkish. The Fed is saying they're still going to be hawkish. What do we do here? I'm not fighting the Fed. You can make that decision. Look, we talked about in all videos this week the potential for a rally after CPI. So we're not totally caught off sides here. Towards the end of last year, end of December, we took a lot of our downside protection off. Some of it, we still have some of it. That was clearly the right move. We're happy to have done that. But ultimately, we're still sticking with the Fed. We're not fighting the Fed. We might get to 4,000, that might occur, but we think we're gonna also get to 3,000. I think there is serious potential for a greater pullback. And Macy's after hours saying Q4 spending was down. My assumption is Macy's is not an isolated case. My assumption is this is more broad. We heard Jeff Bezos talk about a possible recession. So yes, we have pulled back from the all-time highs. The all-time highs were incredibly expensive. We had incredibly rich valuations that were pricing in record growth in some cases, growth that had stimulus, that had tremendously high consumer savings, that had inflation. Now, the stocks were priced for that situation to continue. And obviously, it hasn't. Inflation's coming down. Savings are getting drawn down. Inflation's not going to be hot, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Stimulus no longer present. Money supply getting drained out of the system. Interest rates going up. So we have a ton of reasons for multiples to come down, and they are coming down. Now, earnings are going to come down. So let's look at Apple, right? Apple today is a 20 to 21 times trailing earnings multiple. However, if this Q4 is lower than last Q4, which I obviously expect it to be because they had tremendous iPhone supply issues and there was lower demand, according to Macy's, my assumption is that Macy's is very representative of not the lowest income person, but more the middle to upper middle class type of person. That is a big swath of Apple for sure. It's going to impact Apple. So I think that's just the situation. Macy's is saying what happened in Q4 likely to go into 2023. I'm not ignoring this. I'm not going to get all riled up by one piece of data. The Fed continues to tell us, don't get riled up by one piece of data. They're continuing to tell us they're going to go above 5%. The market's now projecting them to cut by the end of the year and go below 5%. They're saying we're going above 5%, holding rates into 2024. So we've got an earnings contraction that's going to occur, and we have a market that has not fully adjusted to where the Fed's going to go. So I think there's plenty of juice in the fire for the market to turn down. Despite that, as I've said, short-term CPI, I'm not trying to get super bearish right now. Definitely possible we get better than expected CPI, market rallies. But again, I'm sticking with the Fed who said, don't look too much into any one piece of data. I think energy is going to continue to rally. I think oil price is going to go up. So what am I going to do? I'm going to stay long energy, and I'm going to add some shorts if there's a rally after CPI. If we get decently above 3,900 in the S&P, I'm happy to do that. So that's today's video. We'll see what happens. Have a good weekend. And until next time, peace out, baby.